Well, African designers are certainly making their mark on the international stage, not only through clothing, but also with timekeeping masterpieces. Kholofelo Xesha Masha, as founder of a year-old company, Xesha South Africa, his designs feature intricate dial designs which are drawn from tribal patterns. He's with me now in studio to talk more about his work. I'm quickly moving my water here out of the way. Kholofelo, very good afternoon to you. So thank you for coming in. You are a creative. You could have chosen to work on any other project. What was it about timepieces that drew you in?
Well, for me, it was as an artist and also a graphic designer. In search of a canvas, the timepiece for me was like a very sort of a not well explored art piece. So I literally thought about it. I was like, you know what, let me turn the timepiece itself into a piece of art, and the type of art that tells stories about our country and Africa at large. You know, there's so much stories that are here in the country that we know about, our traditional stories, where we come from, how we came here, how we got together, and how we found ourselves here.
We're looking at some of your branding and packaging and the timepieces themselves, and there's just so much fine detail on the watches themselves. Do you do everything yourself?
Well, a bit of it, some outsourced. There's an issue of not having enough technology in the country to be able to engineer some things, like the movements of the watches. We don't have that technology in the country, so you have to look outside to other countries to be able to supply you with the movements. The rest of the stuff is much more easier to make at home.
How are you moving them through the market? Is it through stores, or have you also taken the avenue where a lot of entrepreneurs are saying, you know what, let's sell this online, even through social media, for instance?
Yeah, that's the avenue that I took. Bricks and mortar is a bit too expensive. Having a website, having social media platform and all that, that's what I'm doing at the moment.
How much space is there, Kholofelo, for young entrepreneurs like yourself to compete? Because, I mean, when you think of timepieces, there are the older, more popular, trusted brands that already have such a monopoly on that space. So I can't imagine that it's easy.
Well, it's a very difficult thing when you look at the fact that the entire world is looking at Switzerland as the hub, as the main hub where timepieces come from. I think at the same time it's very exciting that we are at the time where South Africa is also tapping into the market, seeing that the timepiece market is not something that is going to go out of business anytime soon. The entire world loves it. And for me, a timepiece is not just a local, you know, a product that you would have locally. It's actually an international product where, since the inception of the company, in April this year, we've had interest from people all over the world, New York and other countries as well. So it has been, I think the world has been waiting to hear or to see what South Africa would do next.
And I suppose for them, especially with Europe and America, they quite like the African detail. I was looking at one of the wristwatches where you had beading around the belt.
Yeah.
Okay. Funding. We talk about this all the time when we talk about small business.
Yeah.
Did you do it yourself, or did you have to look externally?
Well, I started my own business out of my own pocket with a salary of 3,000. I'll tell you, it's difficult to get funding in this country. It's very difficult. At the same time, I think it's because perhaps we don't understand how to go about it when we look for funding. Perhaps we don't know what departments to approach and what are the procedures and all that. But if you want to do something, you're passionate about it, and you really want to do it, you're going to do everything in your power to do it. I had to do that. I had to sacrifice everything that I had to be able to see my dream come into life. And for me, I would say that it wasn't too difficult to start it. And I'm very glad that I was able to do it out of my own pocket, with my own efforts and all that. Perhaps later on, then there could be opportunities for funding and whatsoever, but I don't think that to start a business you have to look at funding first. I think to start a business you have to look at yourself first, see what you have, what you can do at the time where you are to be able to move forward. I started with one watch at a time, with the salary that I had at that time, and I grew it from there. That's
Where
all
are you
it
now,
takes.
numbers-wise?
In terms of how many watches I've been
So you
able
started
to...
with one. How many are you moving now on average?
Well, on average, I'm looking at at least about 7 to 10 watches per month. Yeah, on average.
Okay, how do people find you? Let's give you a quick plug.
www.xesha.co.za.
I missed that?
www.xesha.co.za.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll share some of those details and make sure that people get in contact with you and buy those timepieces. Kholofelo Xesha, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Well, still